Pierre Poilievre's origin story begins with a 16-year-old mother making the decision to place him for adoption. He was raised by two schoolteachers, an upbringing that Poilievre describes as rooted in humble, working-class beginnings. That stability was tested when interest rates spiked in the 1980s, triggering a bankruptcy that cost his family their home and two small rental properties. His parents were forced to borrow from his grandfather just to maintain a place to live. Poilievre frequently cites this period as proof that the individual is always at the mercy of state-level financial decisions. He frames his current political mission around restoring what he calls the promise of Canada, where work correlates directly to owning a home. This experience suggests that his focus on national independence is a response to these uncontrollable macroeconomic forces. For Poilievre, personal survival depends on limiting a government's ability to destabilize a family's financial foundation. Beyond interest rates, Poilievre identifies a broader mechanism of wealth extraction. He argues that monetary inflation is not an accident of the market, but a deliberate tool used by the state to fund its own expansion. He points to the Cantillon effect to explain this. When a government prints new money to cover deficits, that cash does not reach the public simultaneously. It enters the economy through the banking system first. Those closest to the financial system borrow and deploy this capital while its purchasing power is highest. By the time this money reaches the average wage earner, the supply has expanded, prices have risen, and the currency they hold has been devalued. This process acts as a stealth tax on the working class. In Poilievre's view, systemic poverty is the resulting outcome of elite financial control, which strips citizens of the very self-reliance he advocates for. Physical prosperity is often blocked by the same administrative forces. Poilievre argues that removing the barriers created by government regulation is the primary path to national wealth. In housing, for example, the largest costs are often administrative. Municipal taxes, zoning fees, and bureaucratic delays represent a massive portion of a home's final price, sometimes exceeding the cost of the actual materials and labor. These delays often extend the permitting process for years without improving public safety. This creates a stark contradiction. Canada possesses the most land per person in the G7, yet has the fewest homes per capita. The houses that do exist are built on a fraction of the available territory, constrained by these state-imposed limits. This artificial scarcity ensures that even high-earning young people remain trapped in rent cycles. It is a manufactured barrier that keeps the working class from achieving true economic independence. Beyond physical and financial barriers, Poilievre examines social friction. He contends that identity politics serves as another mechanism that prevents a functioning meritocracy. Data on home ownership illustrates this friction. In the West, Black mortgage applicants are denied at a rate up to 200% higher than white applicants, even when their financial profiles are virtually identical. Poilievre characterizes these specific rejections as really stupid bankers making poor business decisions. He argues that this is an individual failure of judgment rather than a failure inherent to the free market itself. He argues that institutional DEI frameworks fail to correct this. Instead, he claims that wokeism groups people based on what should be irrelevant characteristics, like race and gender, and seeks to expand state control over their lives. By emphasizing these divisions, the state fragments the working class. This focus on identity acts as a distraction, preventing a unified challenge to the expansion of bureaucratic power. These frictions ultimately protect a specific class, corporate elites who benefit from government intervention. Poilievre describes this as socialism for the very rich. The state provides institutional shields for massive corporations during crises, while leaving individuals to navigate a market made more difficult by inflation and taxes. Dismantling this system requires a return to first principles, a focus on decentralizing power, and favoring voluntary transactions over state mandates. Poilievre references Adam Smith's concept of fellow feeling, the idea that individuals naturally balance self-interest with moral concern for others. In a free market, transactions only occur when both parties are satisfied, requiring no central planning to ensure a moral outcome. This suggests that social equity is best achieved by removing the bureaucratic layers between citizens. By lowering taxes and reducing state involvement, purchasing power and moral agency are returned to the individual. When domestic production is stifled, a nation loses its ability to respond to global volatility. This is particularly dangerous when facing political pressure from powerful neighbors. This was demonstrated when Donald Trump publicly suggested Canada should become the 51st state. While framed as a joke, Poilievre views it as a direct challenge to sovereignty that reveals the danger of military and economic dependence on the U.S. He argues that the only true defense for a medium-sized nation is total resource independence. Security is achieved when a country can leverage its own assets without external reliance. Canada possesses the fourth largest oil reserves on the planet. This resource density serves as a massive strategic deterrent, providing the leverage needed to negotiate with larger powers from a position of strength. Maximizing domestic energy production is a critical geopolitical weapon. It provides the economic floor necessary to maintain a sovereign border in an increasingly unstable world. The final threat to autonomy is the rapid displacement of white-collar labor by artificial intelligence. This shift is occurring at a speed that threatens to outpace the traditional job market's ability to adapt. To protect the middle class, Poilievre proposes a pivot toward sectors where human labor remains irreplaceable. By scaling housing construction, mining, and industrial output, the state fosters demand for physical infrastructure jobs that provide a tangible buffer against digital automation. His doctrine on AI is that technology must be used to empower human agency. It should serve as a tool to increase individual output and meaning, rather than as a mechanism for rendering human effort obsolete. The future demands a choice between expanding bureaucratic control or returning power to the productive individual. Subscribe to the CEO Brief and let us know in the comments. As digital agents begin to dominate white-collar work, can a meritocracy based on personal autonomy truly survive the automation storm?